Hello everyone, I am Douglas E. Welch and welcome back to another episode of Container Garden Update. For more information, you can always visit the website douglasewelch.com. There you'll find links to a gardener's notebook as well as everything else that I do. Well, we're out here in a very warm evening of a very hot day, and we're going to talk about a few things. First off, you may have remembered this egg carton that I planted up a little while ago. Total failure. The fact is, it could not hold the moisture at all. It dried out amazingly fast. So what I've decided to do instead is I have another egg carton here, and I realized what I really needed to do for these is put the soil in here and then take one of our recycled Chinese food containers, as it were, and basically set the egg carton and then add water to the bottom and keep the bottom topped up so that it can pull up the moisture as it needs it. I'm going to try some additional seeds in here, and I think that's going to work a whole lot better because then it can get moisture whenever it wants. As long as I don't let the whole tray go dry, it should be okay. So just so happens that these fit together very nicely, so we'll plant these up with some similar seeds to what we had in the other one, which was some grass seeds and some tree seeds, and go from there. Now, another issue I've been having in the garden is the darn raccoons, it looks like. We saw 2 raccoons in the garden the other night, and I think they're the major cause of this and not our squirrels that we have in the garden. I lost another seedling, just like I lost a pine seedling that I had earlier to being dug out of the ground. Basically, they just dig right down into the pot. They don't actually even tip it over, but they kick everything out of it. So what I'm going to do is I've been meaning to transplant this other jacaranda seedling I had into a larger pot. So I'm going to redo this pot with this hopefully more vigorous jacaranda cutting. And then I'm going to have to do what I've also done to my pine tree that I'm trying to grow, which is put it under some hardware cloth and wire mesh basically for a while to let it get established before something comes along and digs it out. It's been a real problem as of late. I assume it's because we're getting here in the fall, and so the animals are thinking, even here in Southern California, oh my goodness, wow, if you want to see, there's some beautiful roots on that jacaranda seedling. So we'll hopefully settle him in here really nicely. But I guess it's the fall for them. They're looking for more food. They're digging around in anything they find, anything that's got some fresh soil or freshly turned soil or that doesn't require a lot of digging, like a pot. They just go to it like a fish to water, boy. So I'll have to do a little more protection here in the back garden on the bench and stuff, and just try to keep these things going until they get a chance to become a little more established. If you've been watching my In the Garden series, you may have seen similar seedlings to these. These are an unknown tree / shrub that grows just a few houses up. And perhaps you guys can help me identify it. I've put some pictures on the website, and I have a few more of the seeds here. This tree was dropping seeds by the thousands a few weeks ago, and I figured it was a perfect time to try and grab some and see if they would root. Well, the 3 I put in the ground rooted very, very well, and here's the seeds here you can see. And I realized too that additionally the seeds I put in this pot have sprouted as well. So now I'm going to have tons of these trees, which I will eventually identify, of course. But it's a tree I like. It has pretty flowers that I like, so I know I like the plant. I just need to figure out what type of plant it is. But it's good to know that the seed that you gather right here in your own neighborhood can be so viable in most cases. I'm really surprised, actually. These took off with no special attention at all. I literally took the seeds like you saw, I pushed them in the soil, I kept it wet, and up they came. They took probably 2 to 3 weeks before they actually sprouted in the ground, about the same amount of time, but once they come up, boy, away they go. Now I will say this heat has just been merciless, and anything in these little small pots is just really been difficult to keep them watered enough. I've got to come out at least once a day, sometimes twice, and just make sure. So it's going to behoove me to get, at least while it's so hot out here, to try and get these out of the smaller pots into something with a little more mass that can hold a little more moisture and basically ride out those extremely hot days. Today we were up about 95 degrees and there was actually a fairly stiff breeze blowing through True, which only accelerates the evaporation from the pots. So it's real important to, especially in this time of year, keep an eye on anything you've got on your potting bench, anything you've got growing in pots, whether like some of the stuff, the containers up front where they're bigger pots, but we still really have to keep an eye on those. That's one of the reasons I added the automated watering up there. It simply helps to avoid that issue. It waters them deeply twice a day, and I can supplement that if I need to, but in most cases I can go out and I check and things are going pretty darn well. In this episode, I'm not going to show the front yard containers right now. There's not a whole lot going on there. I do have need to plant some green onions in the pot where the nasturtium was growing to try and get something back in that pot. That's probably our most empty pot right now. I've planted some green onions in the raised bed, which you may have seen in the garden series, to compare them. Unfortunately, I planted green onions, carrots, and some other stuff up there. It looks like the raccoons got into that bed as well and dug a bunch of those seedlings out. They were actually starting to come on, so I'm going to have to keep an eye and see if anything else comes up, or otherwise my experiment might be for nothing. But that's about it for this episode of Container Garden Update. I hope you've enjoyed it. I'd like to hear what's going on in your gardens, whether it's container gardens or your in-the-ground gardens or whatever. Send me a comment, leave me a comment on YouTube, Twitter me at Twitter at Gardener's Notebook, my account there. Find me on Google Plus as well. We have a page there as well as a page on Facebook. I'd really like to learn from you, and hopefully you can learn a little bit from me, even if it is from just a bad example, which it sometimes is, sort of like my egg cartons. You guys probably knew that. I wasn't even thinking about it. As always, remember you can find more information on the website, douglasewelch.com. There you can find links to a gardener's notebook as well as everything else I do, including career opportunities, technology IQ, careers in new media, and more. You'll also find links to my various social media accounts and pages there. Until next time, keep things watered and keep digging.